In 2019, I left Germany to start a new chapter and begin my professional career in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And I remember vividly how so many people warned me about the political situation in Ethiopia. It's not safe. You will be back. And unfortunately, 2 years later, a devastating war broke out and I was forced to return. But despite everything, this move changed my life forever. I could no longer see Germany the same way. I saw it with new eyes. I realized how much I had absorbed without questioning and how much I had normalized. And yes, I gained valuable skills and I'm forever grateful for the opportunities I got, the education, a safe space after fleeing war. But I also realized how much I needed to unlearn. And now, as much as I miss and love my family and my friends back home, I can't imagine ever living in Germany again. In today's video, I'm sharing 5 reasons I'll probably never return to live in Germany and what it really means to create home on our own terms. The first reason is elders are not being respected and honored in Germany. And this is something that I have already witnessed and experienced while growing up in Germany, and something that is unthinkable here on the African continent. And it doesn't matter where you go. Elders are not only respected, they are celebrated, they are included in daily life, they are valued, they are seen as wisdom keepers, as pillars of the family. They matter. And this is something that I love to see, the way we treat our elders on the African continent. In Germany, on the other hand, once the elders stop being productive by society standards, they are often neglected, forgotten, left out of daily life, and even put away in retirement homes by their own children. I remember my mother once shared her experience of working in such a retirement home with me, and she told me that she cried every day. It was so sad what she witnessed there, because she saw those elders helpless, living in loneliness, and seeing their pictures hanging on their wall in their rooms with their children. And when my mom would ask them, what about your children? They will not come and visit you. They will tell her, oh, they haven't seen their children for years. They don't care about them. Imagine being neglected by your own child, the child that you raised, that you carried in your womb for 9 months, the child that you sacrificed so much for. And unfortunately, from my experience, I see that this is no longer a German issue, but that also affects migrant families. Children of migrants are so disconnected from our own values, and one of our values is respect and honor the elders, honor your parents, right? Of course, there are cases where children have been abused by their parents and for that reason decided to distance themselves. However, I also know people who didn't have the best childhood and who were kind of neglected and mistreated by their mom and their father, but regardless, they take care of them, they honor them, they respect them, because they think to themselves, they didn't know better. And what can I do? It's my mother. She brought me to this world and I must take care of her. And of course, you never know what happened and what is going on in some people's minds. However, I personally know people who were raised by the best parents, by a mother, a father that sacrificed everything for their child. And still, they decided to neglect their parents, to distance themselves for no reason. Can you imagine that? Not having 5 minutes of your time to check up on your mom. How are you doing? Is there anything I can do for you? And as I said, I'm noticing that a lot also among children of African migrants, something that would be unthinkable on the African continent. And honestly, all I can say to these people is shame on you, really, shame on you. You are absolutely trash. And on a side note, this is also the kind of people you should stay away from, because I believe that if someone has no respect for his mother, his father, for her mom or for her father, right? That person certainly doesn't respect herself or himself and surely will not respect you either. But again, I think this is really an issue on a societal level, that elders are neglected and forgotten in daily life and not taken care of properly in Germany. I remember this story that my friend told me, also a very heartbreaking story. That was during the COVID pandemic and he was working for the Ministry of Health. And his job was to call people in their homes who have been tested positive to check and to control if they are sticking to the quarantine rules. So they're not supposed to leave their house. It was prohibited at that time for 2 weeks. And there was this elderly woman that he called every day. And she was telling him, listen, I'm so hungry. I don't have any groceries left at my home. I have no one to take care of me. My children don't care about me. I'm so lonely. Please at least allow me to quickly go to the supermarket around the corner and buy some groceries. And my friend, who's from Senegal, a country where elders are also highly respected, he then told me he went to his boss and begged him. He said, please allow me to go shopping for this woman. She has nobody. I will do it in my free time. Don't worry. And I will drop the groceries in front of her door and just disappear again. But sadly, his boss refused and he was not allowed to buy groceries for that woman. And guess what happened to that elderly woman? She died hungry. She died lonely in her home. And I remember how heartbroken my friend was. And that story really stuck with me for a long time, and it made me think about how I want to grow old, about the kind of community that I want to build for myself and for my mother as well. And sometimes I take my mom along with me on trips here on the African continent. Just 2 months ago, she visited me in Kenya. We traveled through Tanzania. We have been to Zanzibar together multiple times. And I love to see how much respect they have for elders. For instance, on the island of Zanzibar, when I'm driving my car, I get always stopped by police, right? Because they're trying to get a piece of the cake and ask me for money. But whenever my mom is with me in the car, the whole energy shifts. They're like, Assalamu alaikum, Bibi. Bibi means grandmother. Oh, Mama, welcome, welcome back. And they just let me go. There is an indescribable love and respect for the elders. And I love to see that. And that's also what I want my children to understand, that aging doesn't mean becoming invisible, but that it means becoming sacred. Now, the second reason why I'll probably never return to live in Germany again is the culture of food sharing there. And this is something, when I speak about that, I don't know whether I should laugh or whether I should cry. But let me start with sharing a childhood trauma with you. So imagine you go to your friend's place and you're playing and the mother of your friend is cooking food in the kitchen. You can smell the food. It smells delicious. You're getting hungry. You're excited, right? And then when it's time to eat, the mother comes into the room, right? You're playing with her son or her daughter in the kids' room, and she will look you dead serious in the eye and will tell you, it's time for us to eat now. What do you want to do? You want to wait here in the room, or do you prefer to go home? Can you imagine? I don't get it. Really, I don't get it. This is the most humiliating experience ever. And I don't have a single friend in my circle, and it doesn't matter whether you're a migrant or not. They will send you home. They don't care. I would say in 90% of the cases, not all of them, right? But the fact that every single person that I know have experienced the same scenario as a child shows you that this is not an individual problem, but a societal problem. And I always thought this is a rotten culture from the dark past. However, after I left Ethiopia and moved back to Germany, where I stayed for 2 years and another year in the Netherlands, right? I learned that not only is this culture still alive and well, but it also exists in the Netherlands. And I'm not sure from which country you're watching. Please drop in the comments below if this is also the case in your country where you are currently based in. However, let me quickly share that story with you that happened to me in the Netherlands. So our neighbors, they were moving to a new house, and I offered them help, and I suggested to cook some food for them because they were moving into the new house and the kitchen wasn't set up yet, and moving is stressful. And then on top of that, taking care of food for your family is sometimes too much. So I decided to make a lasagna for them because I know how much they loved my lasagna. They were always invited on my kids' birthdays, and they would always finish up my lasagna. And so we set up a date, and I asked them which time works best for them, and they suggested lunchtime. So I said, okay, then I probably have to pick up my kids first and bring them along, which I did. I picked up my kids from school that day, took the lasagna with me, and then passed by their home. We sat in their living room, had a coffee, when my children started saying that they're hungry, obviously, because they just got out of school, right? And I told them, yeah, wait 5 minutes, we're leaving soon. And she clearly heard them say that they are hungry. But regardless, after like 10 minutes, when my son asked for food again and that he's hungry, she told me, and again, she looked me dead serious in the eye and she said, yeah, we're actually also hungry and thanks for coming. Thanks for the lasagna. I see you next week. There's the door. Hey, it's for me. This is unthinkable. I cannot comprehend this kind of behavior. What is wrong with these people? Imagine there is a child that is hungry, and mind you, the lasagna that I made was this big. There were only 4 people, right? 2 children, mother and father. The lasagna was enough to feed 10 people. But instead of offering them a little bit, right, they decided to send us home. And coming from a country and a culture like the one that we have in Ethiopia, where people literally feed each other, right? This is our love language. Like, for instance, when you're in a restaurant, I had this scenario so many times while living there. I'm in my work break and I order food for myself in a restaurant, and the people that are sitting on the table next to me, let's say they get their food first, right? The first thing they're gonna do is bless their food. The second thing they're gonna do before having the first bite is asking the person sitting next to them to join them. They will say inebla, that means let's eat. And that's such a beautiful culture. We love to share our food. And what always blew my mind is that no matter where you are and how little the people have, you can be in the most rural area, visiting the poorest of the poor. They will always offer you food. In fact, they will feel ashamed if they have nothing to offer you. They will quickly run to the kitchen if you, let's say, for instance, come unannounced, right? They will quickly prepare with what they have. With the little bit they have, they will prepare something delicious for you because it is made with love and out of respect. Meanwhile, in Germany, they will send the children home to go and eat at their home. They will not even share a little piece of bread with them. And to be honest, this is absolutely shameful. If you are one of these people, also shame on you. And I sometimes wonder, what actually happened to the children whose parents were acting that way? Are you the same way now? Do you also send the friends of your child home when it's time to eat? Please let me know in the comments. I don't know where you're watching from and who is watching, but I'm genuinely curious. I believe this is a rotten culture that needs to die. Now, the third reason why I'll probably never return to Germany is because I came to appreciate having a house help while living on the African continent. In most African countries, hiring someone to take care of the cleaning of your house, to take care of cooking, to take care of childcare, right, is affordable compared to Europe. I would say most Western European countries, right? It's only the very rich people in Germany and in the Netherlands that can really afford someone who stays with them and helps them with basic house chores. And haters gonna hate and will call me lazy, and sadly it's mostly women who hate the most, but believe me when I say, been there, done that. I know how hard it is. I remember when I once visited a good friend in Brazil, there was a lovely lady that was working for them and that was living with them, taking care of the children. She would prepare breakfast for her and for the kids of my friend. And I saw the soft life that my friend was living. She had time to focus on herself, taking care of herself, right? And then a couple of months later, she came to visit me in Germany and in the Netherlands. And at that time, my firstborn was 1 year old. I was in the middle of setting up my first own business, right? And like most of the people, I didn't have a house help. And so I was taking care of the house, cleaning the entire house, cooking, taking care of the baby, working on my business. I basically only slept from 11 p.m. and woke up 5 a.m. every day because I needed to work on my business before my baby gets up. And then during the day, I had to take care of X, Y, Z. And that's too much. It's just too much. Women are expected to take care of the house, take care of the children, cook food, take care of their husband, right? And then on top of that, take care of themselves. How? That's almost impossible. And if you have a little bit of money, right, you don't even need to be rich. You can afford someone to help you with these things when you live on the African continent. What I also find interesting, for instance, is that here in Kenya, most apartments starting from 3 bedrooms, I would say, some even with 2 bedrooms and standalone houses, almost all of them have a domestic service quarter, a place where your nanny, your house help, or whoever can stay full-time and you have full-time support. And I came to appreciate that so much since I'm living on the African continent. I was able to bring my business to the next level. I was able to spend more quality time with my children and do beautiful things with them outside, which was so difficult back then in Germany when my children wanted to spend a beautiful day outside with me and the house looked like a mess. I couldn't relax. I couldn't leave the house like this. And oftentimes my response would be, kids, I would love to go outside with you, but I first need to take care of the house. I need to make sure we have food when we come back. And that is why quality time really felt short. And this is a problem that I don't have any longer, right? I have time to really take care of myself. I feel like I'm stepping more into my feminine energy. And don't get me wrong, I still love to cook and spoil my loved ones, right? But I feel like I'm finally living the soft life that I always wanted. And whenever I visit Germany and see my friends who are also mothers, I notice how they are constantly under stress, under pressure, and exhausted. And this is always a great reminder for me why I made the best decision to leave Germany. Now, let's get to the next reason why I cannot imagine to move back to Germany, and that is the rise of right-wing populism. And that is a problem that we see in so many countries in the Western world, in the US, in the UK, France, Netherlands, and Germany too. Just recently, a right-wing populist party, right, that is extremely racist, came out as the second strongest party after the recent elections. And I would like to say I'm shocked, but I'm not. Because unfortunately, Germany had always a problem with xenophobia. Despite being born in Germany, despite speaking the language perfectly, despite being educated in Germany, right? I never felt a sense of belonging, to be honest. Because people will always remind you that you don't belong there, that you will never be seen as fully German. And that's a whole different story, for instance, in the UK or in France, where people, when you ask them where you're from and they tell you I'm French, even though they are black, if they tell you that they are British or that they are French, then that's it, okay? People accept it. In Germany, however, and I get this question asked all the time when I'm there, people ask me because they are surprised about hearing me speaking fluent German, and then they get curious and ask me, where are you from, right? And then, because I know what they are up to and I love to mess with these people's minds, I tell them not what they expect, right? That I came from a poor country in Africa, my parents were refugees and came to Germany. No, I respond with the name of the city in Germany where I live. And they will not be satisfied. You can see it in their eyes, you know, and then they will continue digging deeper and they will ask you, no, I mean, where do you really come from? And then also I take it further and tell them the neighborhood that I'm living in that particular town. And then you can notice how they feel not taken seriously and they become more straightforward and ask you questions like, no, I mean, where do your parents come from? And then I ask myself, where do you have the sense of entitlement from? I mean, we've just met a minute ago. You haven't even asked me for my name. You have shared nothing about yourself, right? And you still have the audacity to come and ask me about my family. Do I owe you an answer now? Do I have to explain to you where my family comes from? And possibly that leads to further questions, why we came here, and so on and so forth. And this is something that you will experience constantly when you live in Germany, no matter how long you live there. And interestingly, whenever I travel, it doesn't matter where I am, South America, Asia, or the African continent, when people ask me where I'm from, and sometimes I tell them I'm from Germany, because technically that's where I'm from. I have a German passport, I'm a German citizen, and to be very upfront with you, that is something that I also cannot deny, is that I have certain German traits, which is normal when you grow up in a country, when you are raised in a country, you take over certain traits, some things that I'm very proud of, right? Like for instance, my work ethics and things that are very beneficial in your career. And there are also certain things that I'm trying to unlearn, right? But when I tell them I am German, right? Case closed. No further questions. They will not come with questions like, no, I mean, where are you really from? And this and that. And maybe that is because these countries are more inclusive. If we look, for instance, at countries like South Africa or Namibia or some South American countries like Brazil, right? It doesn't make sense to ask someone, where are you really from? Because Brazilians come in all shades, same like South Africans, right? If a white person in South Africa tells me they are South African, then case closed for me. Because I know that South Africa is a rainbow nation, a nation that is very diverse culturally in terms of ethnicity. And what is most important, everyone is embraced as South African. And that is something that really Germany can learn from other countries. But unfortunately, from what I'm seeing right now, the country is taking 2 steps back. They are busy trying to deport as many foreigners as possible. And even my mom, when she was here 2 months ago, she told me that she is facing increased hatred because of her skin color in daily life. And the things that she is hearing now in public and the way that she is being treated sometimes in public, right? She has never experienced that before, and she's living in Germany for 40 years now. So unfortunately, xenophobia is on an all-time high. And of course, the last thing that I want for my children is growing up in a country where they will face racial discrimination. That's not a healthy environment for a child. I can speak from my own experience what it did to me when I was younger. I hated my hair. I wanted to have it straight. I didn't like the color of my skin, nor did I like the beautiful braids that my mom made for me. I wanted to look like the white girls. I didn't have the self-confidence that I see in my daughter today. We are living on the African continent for only 3 years in total now, and I already see the positive impact it made. And I think it's also because I chose a good time. When I moved to Ethiopia with my daughter and my son, my daughter was 4 years old. And the early childhood years are essential for every child. She learned to love her skin. Whenever she would draw dolls, she would paint them in the same color as her own skin color. She loves her skin, she loves her hair, and she's so self-confident. And I remember when we moved to Germany and Holland, she experienced racism for the first time on the playground. She came home to me and she told me that there were 2 boys and one of them told her, your skin looks like shit, right? And she was like, what does he even mean by that? She couldn't even understand. She was not upset, which I was really happy about. She was not sad. She didn't get that. She simply acted like she just heard the most stupid thing in the world. And that is also what I told her. Ignore this troll. He's just stupid and jealous, right? And she was like, okay. And she left again to continue playing on the playground, right? But I'm gonna be honest with you, even though we played it cool and I said it's okay, ignore this troll, it hurt me because it triggered childhood traumas. And therefore, I'm so happy that I don't have to raise my children in such a society anymore, but that they can grow up and thrive in a society where the majority of the people look like them, black and beautiful. Last but not least, reason number 5 why I cannot imagine to live in Germany again is that they have a culture of envy. Yes, I said it. And I always thought it's an individual problem. Like for instance, when I was working as a barista in a cafe while I was studying, right? I remember vividly that whenever I returned from one of my field trips, at that time I was traveling a lot. I visited almost every Caribbean island for field research, though not for leisure. And I spent a lot of time in South America doing research in Brazil, Colombia, Suriname, French Guyana. I visited so many places, and whenever I would return and some customers, I'm talking about regular customers, you know each other by name, you engage in a small talk with them, right? And when I returned, they would always make certain negative remarks. They would say, "Oh, you're back. Oh, I would love to live the life that you're living. Must be nice to work here. Maybe I should start working here too." And you could see the envy in their eyes. They were trying to be funny, right? But I got the message. But you know what surprised me? These comments were sometimes coming from people who were doing fine. They were working as investment bankers. They had a solid job, driving a fancy car. They were financially stable because after all, they would leave 10, 15 US dollars every day, every morning in that cafe. Whereas I myself as a student, I could never afford this. Or let me say, I spent my money wisely, okay? And so I would notice the envy and the jealousy, and I always thought this is an individual thing until I started my first own business. So I purchased an online course to become an Amazon seller, and part of the online course was access to a community, and it was a German-speaking community. Majority were sellers on the German Amazon platform. However, I also joined several other groups, public groups on Facebook, where most of the sellers were from the US. They were selling on the American Amazon marketplace. And these spaces were meant for people to exchange their experiences, exchange ideas, support one another, learn from each other. And that's when I learned something is wrong with the Germans. Whenever someone would share his success and achievements with the rest of the group, in the German-speaking group, people will respond with so much negativity. They will say things like, you're lying, I want to see receipts, or things like, you probably forgot to consider taxes, wait until the taxes are withdrawn, or things like, stop bragging, nobody cares, you know. And the same post, right, in the English-speaking Facebook group would receive so much love. People will express their gratitude for the person sharing their achievements, their success. They would feel empowered and grateful because somebody showed them it's possible. They will write kind words of affirmation. You deserve it. You've done well. Please, this is so inspiring. Share with us your secret. What did you do to achieve this? Right? And people will not see it as bragging or as being boastful, but they will feel inspired, right? And that is the big problem. Sometimes when people share their success, especially influencers on social media, they do so because they want to inspire people. This has nothing to do with bragging. I mean, after all, who will believe them if they don't show receipts, right? And this is something that I noticed then. I noticed, hey, this is not an individual problem anymore. And then when I was living in Addis Ababa, I met this content creator who has a very big YouTube channel, and he's German, and he basically tests airplanes. He flies around the world and tests all kinds of different airplanes, first class, business class, economy, from different countries, and he shares his honest experience. And these flights are not sponsored. And he's German, but he lives in Australia, and he told me the same thing. He told me that the Germans are the worst. It's always the Germans in the comment section who talk shit, who will say, oh, it's nice to see you traveling the world business class with our tax money, or things like, I wish I had rich parents too. And he was so annoyed, and I was like, okay, Wayne, you're not tripping. This is really a big problem. And then I made a similar experience just 2 weeks ago. And by the way, this is one of the main reasons why you will never see me creating content in German. So I shared an Instagram reel which went viral. It has almost 3 million views. And I basically show how I am traveling the African continent with my children. and with the caption that I decided to take them out of the school system and instead travel the African continent with them, because that's also education. And I received so much love. People were inspired, right? And they really loved to see that it's possible, right, to do this. Anyway, the next day, the algorithm suggested a similar video to me of a single mother that is traveling the world together with her daughter. And at that time, the daughter was 16 years old, going to university and studying in Italy. A brilliant, smart young lady. She has already, by the age of 16, created 4 online courses about the history of ancient Egypt, of the Incas in South America. These are online courses made by her for children. And so already business-minded, entrepreneurial, smart, you know. And then she shared with the audience that she hasn't been to a conventional school for 8 years, and that since 8 years she's traveling the world together with her mom. And she shared the hateful comments that she receives. When I looked at the comment section, I was shocked, fam. People were saying things like, oh, this is a case for the Jugendamt. They need to be informed. The Jugendamt is something like an institution that is responsible for the well-being of children in Germany, right? So if a child is being molested, abused, or mistreated, they will take the child out of the family and find a foster family for this child. People were in the comment section saying that they will inform this institution, that this is child abuse. Some people, of course, couldn't hide their jealousy. They were saying things like, I wish I had rich parents, must be nice to inherit so much wealth. Some people were accusing the mother of engaging in criminal activities because she also had a Russian background, as far as I remember, because they thought, how else is this kind of lifestyle possible? Somebody even commented under this comment that she's probably a prostitute. Can you imagine? I mean, how low can you go? If someone dares to live an unconventional life, right? And to just think outside of the box, people will attack you. And I don't like that. And after this video, I made some more research. I asked myself, why is it that Germans are acting this way? And that's when I learned that there is a word for this phenomenon. It's called a culture of envy. And apparently, a lot of research has been done on this phenomenon already. And this is not just an issue online. It's also an issue offline in daily life. And as someone who values to be in an environment of like-minded people, people who have an entrepreneurial mindset, who like to support each other, celebrate milestones together, and just, you know, empower each other, I understood that Germany is not the right environment for me. And I must say, while Germany is a special case, even outside of Germany, it's difficult to find a community of like-minded people, which is why I decided it's time for me to create my own community. Because if you cannot find the spaces where you feel comfortable in, where you can thrive, right? Then you must create these spaces on your own. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm so grateful to announce that with you. I'm currently building a community to help more people in the diaspora return to the African continent with confidence, clarity, and support. Fam, we are building something real right now together. So if you want to join this community, check out the link in the description of this video and be part of the builders. This is our time. Let's support each other. I'm now at a point where I feel it's time to give back, which is why I want to share my knowledge and my experience with you. And I would be so pleased to have you on board of Homebase Africa. Again, link is in the description below. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm curious to read your opinion. As always, each one teach one. And I look forward to see you in the next video. Bye.